Today, we're talking about another creepy old man and some sexual allegations. This old man goes by Vince McMahon. He is the CEO of WWE, is what he was most known for. He finds himself into some hot water once again. I say once again because this isn't the first time that he has necessarily found himself in hot water for things of sexual nature. Do you kind of want to give us some history, Pickle, as far as what he's found himself in hot water to previously?
I do like to always remember him shattering both of his quads diving into the wrestling ring.
They'll pay for this!
Let's get into some of the stuff that he has done. In 1992, Rita Chatterton, the first female referee in the company, accused McMahon of...
Meet Rita. Rita was allegedly forced to have with perhaps the most powerful man in the world of professional wrestling, and she'll tell us all about it.
We left there. I followed Vince over to a Denny's. I got out of my car, walked to the front of the car. Vince's driver got out and opened the door, and I thought Vince was going to get out. But instead, Vince said to me, "No, Rita, come in here." He says, "We just sat in a diner for a couple hours. I really don't want coffee." He says, "We'll just sit and talk here." We got into the limo. Vince started talking about magazines, t-shirts, wrestling dolls. We don't have a referee doll at this point. A female would be great. Again, starts talking about a $500,000 a year contract. Next thing I know, Vince McMahon is unzipping his pants. I was pretty shocked at that point. We're talking profession here, and suddenly he wants more than just profession. Vince continued to, if you want a $500,000 contract, you're going to have to satisfy me, and this is the way things have to go. Vince grabbed my hand, kept trying to put my hand on him. I was scared. At the end, my wrist was all purple, black and blue. God, he just didn't stop. This man just didn't stop, a $500,000 a year contract. How's your daughter gonna go to college?
Though he denied the allegations, he reached a settlement with her last year. McMahon also faced federal conspiracy charges alleging orchestrated steroid use among WWE wrestlers, and he was found not guilty by a jury in 1994.
And of course, with sexual predators or alleged sexual predators, they typically kind of have trouble fixing themselves. So there was another incident involving a tanning salon. Do you kind of want to take us into that one too?
This occurred in 2006 and 2011. McMahon was accused of sexual harassment by a worker at a tanning bar in Boca Raton, Florida on February 1st, 2006. McMahon was accused of showing nude photos of himself to her as well as groping and attempting to kiss the worker. At first, the charge appeared to be discredited because McMahon was in Miami for the 2006 Royal Rumble at the time. It was soon clarified that the alleged incident was reported to police on the day of the Rumble, but actually took place the day before. On March 25th, it was reported that no charges would be filed against McMahon as a result of the investigation. A separate tanning spa worker who alleged that McMahon sexually assaulted her in California in 2011 filed a lawsuit against McMahon in December of 2022.
So not only has this affected his image, it's also affected his pockets as well. He has had to hand out some hush money in the past as well as the things that you have previously mentioned. Let's go ahead and look into the hush money that's been handed out.
The WWE board, which McMahon controlled, began investigating a $3 million hush money settlement that McMahon paid over an alleged affair with a former employee of the company in April of 2022. The investigation also revealed other non-disclosure agreements related to misconduct claims by other women in the company against McMahon and executive John Laurinaitis, totaling $12 million. By October 2022, the WWE had disclosed $19.6 million in unrecorded payments McMahon made to settle sexual misconduct claims between 2006 and 2022. In June 2022, McMahon stepped down as CEO and chairman of WWE, but continued to oversee content development. He later announced his retirement on July 22, 2022, only to return 6 months later.
So clearly, his has kind of gotten him in trouble, or allegedly his has gotten him into some hot water. I typically think when there's, some smoke that there's probably a fire there as well. I don't know, I'm not saying he's guilty, but I'm saying this is kind of a really bad look to continuously have multiple people that have no connection with each other just kind of backing up what the other person says.
Yeah, especially when you look at the time span and how much money he spent. $20 million over roughly 20 years. What is that? $2 million a year to cover your ass.
2 + 2 is 4, -1, that's 3, quick maths.
I think if you're a sexual deviant and you're a billionaire, $20 million is just a drop in the bucket. But as we're going to talk about today, it's plaguing him once again, and it's going to cost him some more money if you kind of want to take us into these current allegations that are coming out as of now.
So the main reason we're talking about this today is Janel Grant, a former WWE employee, filed a lawsuit on January 25th against McMahon and former WWE executive John Laurinaitis, claiming she was the victim of physical and emotional abuse, sexual assault, and trafficking at WWE. McMahon disputed the allegations, saying in a statement last week, "I stand by my prior statements that Miss Grant's lawsuit is replete with lies, obscene made-up instances that never occurred, and is a vindictive distortion of the truth." This legal quagmire that revolves around the leaked text messages that have exposed his alleged misconduct. These messages have become a central piece of evidence in a lawsuit that threatens to further tarnish his reputation and legal standing. Back on February 5th, 2021, McMahon directed Miss Grant to arrange a schedule for other men, including physical therapist and Laurinaitis, to engage in intimate activities with her, a request that Miss Grant tried to resist.
Now let's get some insight to this creepy old man's head.
Exactly, baby. He's not the only one. Redacted called me this afternoon begging to eat you and f you with his nice and hard. Give me another week, baby. I'll be ready. I'm feeling more like myself. It's not great, but it's getting better. Tell him soon. I already told him, baby. By the way, Johnny wants Tuesdays, but not this coming one, and the occasional Saturday, but maybe I can shift it to Thursday nights? Johnny would like all of the above. Around March 6, 2021, a second threesome involving McMahon, Laurinaitis, and Miss Grant took place. McMahon consistently pressured Miss Grant to engage in sexual activities with him and her new boss, Laurinaitis, both inside and outside the office. In a message on March 22, 2021, McMahon wrote, "Do you promise to make me proud, baby? Will you show him what a porno star you can be? Will you show off for me like never before? And on days when he's in town, I want him to fuck you every morning and later in the office too."
Jesus Christ.
On May 24, 2021, McMahon reminded Miss Grant via text message that a mistake could jeopardize her career, advising her to prioritize verbal communication over written whenever feasible. "Those compliments will keep on coming, baby. Just wait and see. I totally understand and agree being scared of communication and photos. Johnny gets drunk and sloppy and could easily make a mistake that could cost him his job and yours too. Verbal communication is the way to go. That said, have you and Johnny talked about breakfast tomorrow? We haven't discussed it at all. It's up in the air. Johnny complained about getting a new phone and it just arrived. I haven't set up time to coordinate setting it up with it because I need him to assure me that he's erased everything he's ever saved. Truly, I regret that he ever got pics. It's not worth the stressing I'm feeling. I'm done with it." In 2022, Janel Grant signed a non-disclosure agreement with Vince McMahon, who agreed to pay $3 million. On January 25th, 2024, Grant filed a lawsuit stating McMahon only made an initial payment of $1 million. The lawsuit also includes accusations against McMahon and others regarding sexual assault.
Always been attracted to women, love women.
After reading all those texts, I can kind of see as to why she would go ahead and take this to court. As we've learned from Cassie in the Diddy situation, NDAs kind of only hold up so much, but if you take it to a legal matter, you can kind of play with the NDA a little bit. Now, I do think if she was shorted, I don't blame her at all for wanting to take it to the next step and getting some financial compensation for all the horrendous things that she allegedly had to go through.
Honestly, even reading those out loud was pretty hard to do, and I can see why she would want her money, considering he couldn't even fulfill that obligation.
You know what the worst part is? I've selected a even more disgusting text message that kind of shows the aggressive and assault-like sexual fantasies that he kind of indulges himself in. If you kind of want to read that text message out for the audience and kind of give them a little insight into this sick old man's brain.
Sure. I can do that for you. Replying your last picture, you need your panties ripped off and 3 big black in all 3 holes at the same time. Way up your and way up your as far as they will go, but even farther. And the thickest goes down your throat so it makes you gag and convulse as those big black pound away. It feels like from the start you're being assaulted, but it makes you non-stop. Just one continuous constant orgasm, and just before you pass out, those big black squirt their loads of inside you. As you lay on your stomach, the coming out of all your holes, I'll turn you over and off all over you.
Okay, everyone take the rest of the day off. I'm just gonna...
Wow. That was a lot. I almost want to say a mouthful.
Question.
What?
Are we not saying phrasing anymore?
That was weird having you read that across the table from me.
Yeah, imagine reading it. Worse, even receiving it. My God.
Yeah, now imagine editing that into short clips that you hope go viral on the internet as well.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't get into it because they would never understand.
Yes, Very sad. Anyway.
The federal government also wasn't too happy about reading that because now there is an open federal investigation on Vince McMahon. So if you'd kind of like to lead us into the whole federal government investigation that's starting to take place.
Former World Wrestling Entertainment CEO Vince McMahon is under federal criminal investigation as prosecutors try to determine if federal law was broken in conduct surrounding recent allegations of sex trafficking that have been made public in lawsuits. McMahon has also discussed being under federal investigation and having a phone seized by federal officials. A senior-level WWE executive and another personal friend also had phones seized. Representatives for McMahon, TKO Group, and WWE did not immediately respond Friday to requests for comment on the federal investigation. Nicholas Bias, a spokesperson for the U.S. Attorney's Office, declined to comment. McMahon has not been criminally charged in connection with the allegations in the lawsuit.
So although the federal government hasn't commented on it, usually when the federal government is quiet on something, they're usually plotting. And just to remind everyone in the audience, the federal government wins over 97% of all their cases. So if the feds are after you, it's not looking too good. Although he's already had to deal with the lawsuits. Now the feds are investigating him. There also has been some financial fallout as far as his business dealings because of these things. If you kind of want to take us into the fallouts that have occurred because of his alleged actions.
Though McMahon denied the accusations in last week's suit, he resigned one day later as executive chairman of the board of TKO Group, WWE's parent company. He also stepped down from the TKO board of directors and no longer has a role with WWE.
It's kind of crazy how one man could let his get himself in that much trouble, and how there just seems to be a very apparent kind of pattern that is going on throughout his whole career. And those text messages were really hard to stomach. So it's very clear that he's at least at bare minimum a little bit sick in the head. As far as what I think the feds are going to do, I think they're going to have to kind of wait and play by ear. I don't think we're going to get a comment back from the feds until they have something more concrete.
I think it serves as a really good example of how powerful men dismantle their own empires with their own dealings, their own proclivities, which are only opened up because of their vast wealth. It's a cycle that you see repeated several times over with P. Diddy, Epstein, other people that we've covered on this podcast. They just seem to be enabled by their wealth and their power, but it's also the very thing that brings them down. And it's an interesting study, I think, to watch how it plays out in different people over time.
Well, that's why it's Holly weird. Let us know down in the comments below. Do you think everyone in Hollywood has some kind of weird, sick sexual stuff going on? Do you think that McMahon actually did these things? Are you still going to enjoy the WWE after this? Are you still a fan of Vince McMahon? Let us know all that down in the comments below. Don't forget to hit that like, subscribe button. And with that being said, I'm Rugburn.
And I'm Pickled Landon.
And this is Tombstone Tourist.